I've been saving this Crystal Skull vodka for the proper occasion, and I think that day has finally come. So gloopy. Nostrovia. Please drink responsibly. Ask your parents before going online. Ooh, that'll warm you up. Temple of Doom? No, thank you. Just give me some good old Crystal Skull vodka. Oh boy, okay. Disney really dropped the fucking ball on Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny hits theaters this week. This is a project that Disney's been trying to get out of development hell for a while now. It seemed like they were really struggling with what to do with the Indiana Jones franchise, even though the answer was right in front of them this whole time. Indiana Jones is kind of an iconic character, which is a term that I'm sort of borrowing from whoever, where he's more similar to something like James Bond or Conan the Barbarian or Sherlock Holmes, where it doesn't necessarily have or even need a strong character arc or progression throughout the series. It's more just like a really cool looking guy who goes on self-contained adventures that are cool and fun. It's why Temple of Doom can technically take place before the first movie, and it doesn't really matter at all. Each of these movies are self-contained adventures, and you just have a cool guy with a cool look and a hat and a whip and a gun, and he goes and fights some people.
The hat, the whip, and the devil-may-care persona.
And like, that's basically all you need. But unlike characters like James Bond that have been played by many different actors, Indiana Jones kind of has this direct association with Harrison Ford because he's just so iconic in the role. So on some level, you do want to have him be related to the character in some way. And they've like dabbled with bringing other actors in, but it's never really quite worked out. Time and time again, I think they've realized that we kind of need Harrison Ford in the role. Can't get River Phoenix, he's dead and gone. They tried to do a Han Solo reboot with Alden Ehrenreich as a young Harrison Ford, and it bombed horribly and nobody wanted it or liked it. So instead of trying to get some other actor to play the character, we get yet another in the long line of legacy sequels with old-ass actors reprising their characters from the 80s. What's crazy to me about Dial of Destiny is that this isn't even the first legacy sequel to Indiana Jones. We literally got one all the way back in fucking Tahoe! He's fine. All the way back in 2008 with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which most people just kind of want to forget, but I kind of don't, because like, this is part of the canon now. You can't just erase it. You can't just like wave this away now. It did happen. I saw it happen. Don't tell me it didn't happen. So you already had a legacy sequel about how Indy's old and retired and is maybe having to pass the torch on to a next generation 15 years ago. Like, it's old enough now that you could do a legacy sequel about this movie starring Shia LaBeouf and it wouldn't be that weird. Like, they literally already kind of did this with Star Wars, where they did the sequel trilogy with The Force Awakens and all that, which was like trying to harken back to the original trilogy, bringing back those characters and stuff, and ignoring all the prequel stuff, or like going back to the stuff that you really liked. And then those movies ended up being kind of terrible and nobody really liked them. So then with the Obi-Wan series, they were just like, what if we bring back stuff from the prequels? Do you like that now? Is this an idea? And believe me, I get the wanting to ignore Crystal Skull and all of the gophers and monkeys and Shia LaBeouf of it, but at the same time, it's like, it's part of the series now, and I weirdly think it would be kind of cool to bring Shia LaBeouf back, but that's not the main thing I want to talk about. Firstly, Indiana Jones Harrison Ford is old as fuck.
What are you, like 80?
And it's so evident that like he doesn't really want to be involved in a big action movie anymore. So much so that it looks like they're gonna have to rely on heavy use of CG and like deep fakes to even get the character in the movie. Gee, it's too bad that Indy didn't hold on to the Holy Grail. Otherwise, he could have just kept being in these movies instead of being played by a computer. And Harrison is just like so old and grumpy at this point. Like, I'm surprised they even managed to get him to be in the movie at all. Like, the main reason he was like enthusiastic about being in Force Awakens was that they killed off his character.
You've tried for years to get the character of Han Solo killed. You went out of your way to kill Han Solo, yet you're back for this movie. What's going on?
And then when they like completely ran out of ideas by Rise of Skywalker, they had to like drag him screaming from the liquor store and gave him a quick $1 million and a Han Solo vest, didn't even bother shaving him, and had him like read off cue cards to do this scene where he talks about how all the horses drowned or whatever. Not even to mention all the times that Harrison is like tried to kill himself by crashing planes on way too many occasions.
I didn't know you could fly a plane. Why, yes. Land? No.
Like, he even almost died during the shooting of Force Awakens, which is why he, like, hobbles through that movie. And even that was, like, 7 years ago at this point. 8 years ago? Holy fucking shit. This dude is so old. He's 1,000,000 years old. Harrison Ford is older than most of the artifacts he has to dig up.
That belongs in a museum. So do you.
Dude should not be in action movies anymore. He's much better in stuff like Shrinking, where he just gets to sit a lot and play old and grumpy. And he's great in that show, actually.
I'm always mad. I'm always sitting.
So of course we can't rely solely on Harrison Ford in this new movie, and so we're bringing in some young lady who is in some stuff that I've heard is good, but I'm not that familiar with her. I'm sure she'll be fine. Again, I kind of wish it was Shia LaBeouf instead, but I get it. Which is part of the theme of all these big, dumb legacy sequels, is you can't rely on these old actors forever, so you have to bring in younger, newer, more diverse cast in order to, like, have some fucking life in these things. And Disney has like really struggled so clearly and so desperately to like figure out how to bring in younger, more diverse actors in an organic way, and have mostly failed because Hollywood just refuses to make original movies anymore. So the only kind of movies they make is some type of legacy sequel or remake, but bringing in some type of younger, more diverse actors in order to try to meet some diversity quota, but it comes off completely shallow pretty much every time. Which brings me to the elephant in the room, the main reason I'm making this video, the obvious choice of what characters to bring back that's been there the whole time, and for some reason they didn't think of it. Why the fuck isn't Shortround in this new movie? Like everyone on Earth, I too enjoyed Everything Everywhere All at Once and thought it was great and wonderful. And actually, let me make sure I'm pronouncing this right.
Ke-Huy Quan.
Ke-Huy Quan. Okay, so even though I looked up how to pronounce the name, I'm pretty sure I still got it wrong because I am stupid and dumb.
Just so I get this clear, because I've seen people pronounce your name differently on the internet. Is it Ke-Huy?
Hui.
Hui.
Yeah. Quan.
Ke-Huy.
Trying my best to get the pronunciation right. Ke-Huy Quan fucking kills it in this movie. He's charismatic, he can do action still, and he's a good actor. And he's from fucking Temple of Doom. He's part of the original story. Just bring him back. Why the fuck didn't they just do that? Can you imagine how easy it would be to market this movie as the, like, continuation of Ke-Huy Quan's comeback story? Hot off of winning an Oscar for one of the most original movies in years, leads right into a big blockbuster action movie that he would absolutely be 100% on board with doing. And you could argue that, like, well, Disney didn't know that this movie was gonna necessarily come out and win as many awards as it ended up doing. Disney couldn't have known that, and so they wouldn't have necessarily thought of him. But they should have. It's not like he was busy doing other shit before this movie or wasn't interested in acting. Dude was literally like sitting by the phone for like decades waiting for it to ring. You could have just called him up. Someone at Lucasfilm has his number. And the dude's been working in the industry behind the scenes on like stunt choreography and stuff. Dude can fucking move and do action, which is beneficial for your action franchise. And it's like the perfect organic way to transition and pass on the torch, pass on the whip, if you will, from the older generation to the younger generation. It's built right into the fucking second movie. You get to bring in a younger, more diverse actor to take over the franchise, one who can actually do action and is like enthusiastic and like willing to continue on. Like, he would be so down to do like 10 movies after this one. You could just have a whole Short Round franchise right there, and it's built right into the fucking lore. You can't even get mad for it being woke. It's part of the second movie. It's part of the original trilogy. It's part of the, like, it's not even like they're coming up with some new random thing just to be trendy. It's like right there. It's built into the fucking franchise. Dude's an Academy Award winning actor, and you could put that in your fucking trailer right before the movie comes out. You know who's never won an Academy Award? Harrison Ford. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not just saying this to be like trendy. I genuinely think there's an interesting story to tell between Indy and Short Round. These two have a like pretty interesting relationship when you think about it. Short Round was like this orphan kid on the streets, and Indy just sort of like adopted him and brought him on all these adventures and became like sort of a father figure to him. But at the same time, like, had him be his like getaway driver and like brought him on all these dangerous adventures where they see a guy get his heart ripped out and like Indy gets possessed by voodoo magic and almost kills him and then almost dies and shit. It's like pretty traumatic, fucked up shit that Short Round had to go through as a child. And Last Crusade goes into all this like interesting baggage that Indy and his dad Sean Connery had with their tumultuous relationship. And I think Indy partially passed down a lot of those bad fathering traits onto Short Round. Some good old-fashioned generational trauma. Throw that buzzword in there. That's a theme you could explore. But I genuinely think there would be an interesting story there between Short Round and Indy as adults. Them reconnecting and going on some new adventure, and Short Round confronting Indy about like, hey, like, I know like you were kind of my only family, but at the same time, it was pretty fucked up, a lot of the shit that you put me through. Like making me, a 10-year-old child, be your getaway driver when you're doing crimes in Hong Kong. Remember that time we almost got eaten by alligators and shit? Like, it was not okay for me to be there on all your crazy adventures. But at the same time, like, he's kind of the only father figure that Short Round's ever had. There's an interesting story there. One that we'll probably never get to fucking see because Disney doesn't have the foresight to cast an actor from Indiana Jones in Indiana Jones. Dial of Destiny better at the very fucking least have a post-credits scene setting up Short Round to go on many more adventures, because like, I would still watch the shit out of that, even if it's disconnected from this final Indiana movie. Like, I feel like Vietnam would be a really cool setting for a Short Round solo movie. I don't have an exact story pitch or anything. I just feel like the vibe is right. Timeline-wise, I think it would line up fairly well. 30 to 40 years after Temple of Doom would place us in the late 60s, maybe early 70s, which lines up with the Vietnam War. You'd be in a jungle, so that would be a good setting that would fit the franchise pretty well. I think you could also do some really interesting things thematically, kind of doing a reverse of the original movies where like the Nazis were the bad guys and an American had to like come over and deal with that shit. But this time maybe like you could flip that and have the Americans be the bad guys, and you have to bring in an Asian guy to like deal with that. Also, I don't know anything about Vietnam, but I'm sure they have some fascinating mythology and like religious artifacts or history that you could pull from. I'm not an archaeology man, so I don't know that stuff, but I'm sure if you researched it, it would be cool. I don't know, man. Like I said, I don't really necessarily have a good pitch or anything. I just think that would be a cool setting. And I would easily watch like 10 movies with starring Short Round, and he would be genuinely enthusiastic to do them. Because he's like, hell yeah, dude, put me in movies. It's just like baffling to me that they didn't think to bring back Short Round, the obvious legacy character to carry the franchise going forward. It was right there. They had it in their hands. They had it in their hands. What are you doing, Disney? I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm sure it'll be fine. James Mangold is a good director. And I'm not necessarily trying to shit on anyone. I'm sure there's a lot of talented people that worked on the movie and do a good job. It's just insane to me that Everything Everywhere All at Once could have easily teed up this movie to be a huge slam dunk, home run, touchdown success. And Disney just like didn't think of it. Come on, guys, do better. Anyways, that's the video. Harrison Ford is an alcoholic dinosaur that will one day crash a plane into the hearts of millions. And Ke Huy Quan is an absolute badass. I look forward to seeing the continuation of his career. Disney should have put him in Dial of Destiny, but that's their loss. Whatever he does next, I'm sure will be great. Harrison, prepare to meet Kali. I'll see you in hell.